breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
All right, everyone, but welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos, my co-host, as always, Dr. Glenn Harrison. How's it going, buddy?
Doing great. How was your evening going? I know you just came back from a trip and all that stuff.
Yeah, got home from a trip, decompressed a little bit, got home, took the kids to the park, got in a water fight with my daughter. So all pretty standard stuff around the condos. Standard stuff. And ready to talk about your home and your health. Yes. I think that this is something when we talk a lot, because you and I go over cases quite frequently. And when we talk about it, it's like, well, what's going on at their home? If you talk to them, what's going on with their relationships, what's going on in their house. And I think that this is a component that a lot of people don't really
appreciate.
Yes. Or they don't realize the impact that it can have on your health.
I agree.
So like we just talked about, we're going to talk about relationships and home health, right? If this is your first time listening or watching, please hit like and subscribe, turn on notifications, because we're going to continue to roll out topics like this or other health related topics each and every week. And hopefully you find something that rings a bell with you and makes an impact in your life. So let's talk about how important your health is inside of your home and the health of your relationships.
Well, I guess maybe I'll start out with an example. This topic seems so simple, but hopefully we can kind of shine the spotlight on it. So if people are dealing with challenges at home, they will be able to appreciate how it affects them.
Right.
It just like you said, when you're talking to some of your clients or I am, first thing I want to know is, how is their home life? Because it doesn't matter what health disorder they have. If there's a problem with their home life, everything else will fall apart. There's this lady that I was working with. She had some health challenges already. I was already working with her, and she started to improve. There was a few months went by. She was doing actually quite well. I would say 60% well, better. And we're talking 30 years of chronic joint pain and inflammatory conditions and GI issues and fatigue. Like, it is not only in a few months. I think that's quite a win, 50, 60% improvement. And then she was away for a little bit, came back to her home. She was away for a week, came back, and her home was entirely flooded. It was practically destroyed. The pipes burst, all that terrible stuff. And then going through all the building and the legal and the insurance and all of that stuff. But she was displaced. And she wasn't in her own home. She wasn't with her dogs. That's her babies, of course. And so she had to be in a hotel room. So she couldn't have her dogs. So the dogs went into, a boarding place. She wasn't around her kitchen. She wasn't able to cook the food. She didn't have her things. Everything was kind of upside down. And it wasn't a day or a week, but it was well over a month. And then she finally got moved in, and terrible luck. It was like 3 weeks later, there was another, I don't know what it was. I think it was a flood again, another water problem all over again. Her health, she backtracked on that 60% of progress that we made. Everything turned back on. And it wasn't that she was suddenly eating terrible food, or it was just massive emotional distress affecting her sleep, affecting her routines, and all the things that we're going to talk about here. So, and that's just being displaced with, home damage, renovations, etc. But it's massive, right? You can't out supplement your way out of that one.
Right. I mean, the amount of stress associated with that, I've done that before, right? So we remodeled our house, and I did it myself. And when we did it, it was a stressful time, right? Health definitely took a hit on that. And then also you have to look at, like, what are the relationships associated, not only with say you're displaced or you're renovating your house or whatever, but what are the relationships inside the house? What are the relationships inside your household? That's when a lot of times when I look at, what's your home life like? It's not really, am I asking, hey, you doing a home renovation project? It's mostly like, hey, how's everyone getting along? Yeah. And I think it's interesting because when we were in school, we always learned these questions to ask. Do you feel healthy at home? Do you feel safe in your home?
I thought those were
always like, what
questions.
Does that have to do with this? Yeah. And the more I get into it, the more I'm like, okay, it's not just like, is this a red flag question where we need to look at, do we need to get this person some emergency help or something like that? But also, how are these relationships impacting their health in other ways? If you're not getting along with your spouse and you come home and you're like, well, just left a really stressful environment at work to come back to another really stressful environment because I can't get along with my significant other because we're fighting about financials or how to raise our kids or whatever. So I think
that's right. There's you lose the opportunity for sanctuary.
Yes. Yep. So I think that when you look at that, that comes with a whole host of problems too. We've talked in length about stress and the triggering of
and we've also talked about relationships and health.
Yes. So when we look at all, and if you want to listen more about those, there's like a couple of podcasts on that where we talk about it for 15, 20 minutes, and you guys might really enjoy that. So you can give those a listen. But I guess the thing I want to really get you guys to realize is that if you're stressed out at home, the one place you're not supposed to be stressed out of, and it could be things like renovations. It could be things like, you're fighting with your significant other. It could be things like your roommate's got a dog and it pees in your bathroom.
Yes, that stayed a little bit too long.
Right.
Family or friends that came from out of town and they're like, wow, this is great. I think we're going to stay
like a VRBO that I don't have to cook or do my own laundry. But it's all those things can impact your health because all of those things can trigger an immune response if they go on long enough. All those things can trigger an inflammatory cascade if it goes on long enough, if it changes your habits, if it changes your patterns, if it changes how you interact with the people within the framework of your house. Like all these things can impact your health in a lot of different ways.
That's exactly right. And then it snowballs, and then it changes again a pattern. Sleep is a big thing. We've always talked about this, but if you don't feel comfortable, I don't even want to use the word safe, but comfortable, relaxed. In some cases, people I know have had roommates that they actually don't even feel safe living under the same roof. Well, how could they have a proper sleep? How could they feel recovered? And then where do they find their sanctuary if they can't feel calm and relaxed at home? If they don't have that, they don't have any place to recharge their batteries. They just don't have any place to recover and recoup from their workday or whatever, or their school or whatever it is. So home is crucial. It's absolutely
big part of it, right? So I don't really know where else to go with this one.
Well, I guess there's other things, right? We think about our home and the people and being relocating, but also your home is your happiness at home, your health at home is also a reflective of how do you keep your home. So when you see these people that have they're really a psychological disorder or mental health disorder of jamming everything in their home, right? Hoarders. What is that? And then they actually have to go through therapies to be able to declutter. And I've had a few patients like this. And once they get the proper help and everything, and there's organization in their life, then there's less insecurities. They can have people to come down to their home and visit them that they want to, of course. It is necessary, but it's a burden. So clutter, they can say how someone's life is just by looking at their desk. How cluttered is their desk? If it is,
you probably look at my desk.
Probably a cluttered mind. So, these are, I don't know. I don't want to beat it up too much. I think it's important for people to realize if they have things going on at home that doesn't fit right, it should start there. And maybe there's another layer, and it's just kind of coming to me. The onset of all this online work, this remote work, everybody says, "Oh, it's going to be great. I'll work from home." Well, the next thing you know, and I've had lots of have conversations with myself about this. Maybe you've had as well, where you gotta try to keep your work stuff contained to one room. If you have that room, and if you don't have that room, you have to have very rigid hours when your work stuff is out and when you're going to put it away. Because even if you see it laying around, it'll turn on the emotional response associated with work, tasks, to-dos, and then now you're not getting separation between the work-related stresses versus the home sanctuary. So it could even be that we have to maintain structure, and our home has to maintain a calming place. It can be sabotaged with something as simple as remote work. It's sticky everywhere.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like we all heard this when we were in school, like don't do your homework in your bedroom, right?
I never heard that. I should have, because I did way too much of that.
Didn't you ever hear like don't do your homework in your bed, because then your brain learns to associate homework with like your bed. Then all of a sudden when you're sleeping,
I must have missed that day, because I woke up with, papers all over it. I was like,
yeah, I did too. I was trying to like absorb by osmosis, right? If I slept on them, maybe it would just flow.
That was horrible. It was the worst sleeps of my life. I don't even know if I slept. So
I think that the takeaway from this is how you keep your home and your house is how you keep your health, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you feel good and everything's running smoothly and everything's clean and order, whatever, then that's how you're going to keep your health in your life, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's the big takeaway from this.
I guess
so. Again, if you guys got value out of this one, or you enjoyed it, or you just like listening to me and Glenn ramble on how you should try to maintain your health within your home, make sure, again, you hit like and subscribe. We do have a email associated with the podcast. It's info@brainstormingwiththedocs.com. You guys can get a hold of us there. You can leave a comment on this video or on the podcast if you're listening. Let us know if there's something you'd like us to do, if you like listening to us, if you like content like this. And we'll do our best to get back to that. And again, stay tuned, because next week we might roll out something about something that's applicable to you. So
that's right. All right. Well, that sounds good. Dr. Kolby, I'm all set for the next one.
Talk to you next week.
Bye-bye.